Welcome to the Paul Chandler Show. I'm your host, Paul Chandler. In tonight's episode, we're going to be using the Padzilla again, and we're going to look at a polypectomy being performed during a colonoscopy. And yes, we'll be looking at a live video recording of a colonoscopy, but don't worry, it's not my colon. So we'll be looking at the polypectomy being performed, the surgical scope on the colon, and I'll be explaining what's going on the doctor side. So that way, as coders, when we're looking at a colonoscopy being performed and a surgical polypectomy, we'll know what the doctor is actually doing based on the surgery when we're looking at the documentation. So stay tuned and we'll be right back using the Padzilla, and we'll be looking at a polypectomy being performed during a colonoscopy. Welcome back, everyone. And tonight we're going to be looking at polypectomies during a colonoscopy. So polypectomy, polyp, ectomy, excision. So we're removing polyps during a colonoscopy. So our colonoscopy is when a scope goes up the bum and it can make it all the way around to the end, which is the cecum and the terminal ileum. So in this procedure, so I'm pulling up the video, and just for reference, this is not my colon, so yay. And looking at the procedure itself, so we do see though that the provider has a nice clear view. So the patient did follow their prep, as in, don't eat after a certain time, don't drink after a certain time, use the liquid that clears the pipes, if you will. So the doctor has an awesome view, going through nothing obstruction. That, let's just say I would be using the color brown if I was coloring it. I think you get my drift. So then the doctor already did the diagnostic scope and now doing the surgical scope. So in this way, we're actually going to see two different concepts as how the doctor is actually going to be removing the polyps. So first, to be able to do the cold snare technique, the provider has to actually make an injection, because originally the polyp was quite small and lower down to the level of skin. So first the doctor made an injection to enlarge it, and then took the lasso type, type tool, it's called the cold snare, and looping it around. So if you think about it, Star Wars, the second one, maybe third, one of those, with Jabba the Hutt, and Princess Leia was the captive. Jabba the Hutt took a little chain around her neck and yanked it. Welcome to removing a polyp on the snare technique. So the doctor took the metal chain, the lasso if you will, put it around the polyp and tracked it back, and now we see the polyp has been cut off. So it's been removed from the wall of the colon itself. So right now it's just laying there, essentially a little farther back. And then the doctor makes a little flushing, so then everything's a little bit more clear. Now then we still have that hole there that's done in the colon wall itself. The doctor makes a little bit more flushing to clean out the area. And we see that the polyp is still a little bit there in the back. And then the doctor is now taking the camera, and in the liquid part there, we're going up and down, kind of like if you're like in a swimming pool, kind of going up and down water. Then that's the liquid of the colon itself, so that way the doctor can be able to put the scope through, and then the scope is not rubbing against the wall of the colon. So way back there, that was the first polyp that was removed. Now then the doctor is going in, so he just snares, and as we go down, and about to hook, line, and sinker, going down in the wall of the colon again here. And now the doctor is using a different technique to remove another polyp called forceps. So the two major ways how polyps are removed are either a snare technique, kind of the lassoing, or with the forceps. So then now kind of like the claws at the end, that's what we mean by forceps. So the doctor is going in and with one tool, grabbing the wall of the colon and pinching it to secure the polyp itself. then that's that tool that's going along there. The doctor's keeping it secure. The doctor then takes the forceps, goes underneath it to clinch it. And the doctor's using the clamps and the forceps at the same time to be able to extract out and remove that polyp from the wall of the colon. So it's kind of like a jaws, like going in. You see the doctor has that pinch there, up on top, and going at the bottom through the forceps. Because depending on where the polyps are on the colon tract, or also the size of them, or also how deep down they are, then that's when the doctor has to decide, are they going to use the snare technique, and like the lassoing, or they can use the biopsy forceps. And I call them the biopsy forceps because they can be used in biopsies, or just the forceps themselves, or they be hot or cold forceps to remove other polyps. Again, based on where they are in the colon tract, and also how deep down that they are. So now then the doctor is going through and then got the clear slipped. And then this is the netting. So now then to be able to remove the polyps, because this is the first polyp that was removed, it was cut off and just laid there. So then the doctor has with the scope, a netting comes out, and then just goes in and grabs the polyp. And then at this point then the doctor is able to grab it and extract it back through. At this point the doctor then is going back and retracting the net during the surgical scope. At that point then the doctor at the end there, and we did not show in the video of it actually being removed out of the colon because that's a little bit too graphic for TV. So that's how we show then the colon as far as colonoscopies removing the polyps. And so we had the snare technique where the lasso went in and looped it around and pulled it back. And then also the forceps technique, going in and the clamping it up on top and with forceps on the bottom to be able to yank it off. And then they put the net in, just like a fishing net. The net goes in, it shoots out a little bit, grabs the polyp, and then the doctor is able to secure it and pull it back all the way through the colon and then out the rectum for the removal of the polyp. So that's the clinical video for the procedure showing on how polyps are removed with the snare technique and the hot biopsy, in this case the cold biopsy forceps. Again, so snare technique and the forceps technique, and then also the net removing the colon itself. So thank you for watching this episode of the Paul Chandler Show, and have an awesome rest of your night. If you like this video and want to see more, make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's so easy. It's right there. A little button. Just push it. Subscribe. I got all night. Nothing else to do. Just subscribe.